Hey everybody, I'm back. Yeah, I took a little break there, a little longer than I intended. November was just a crazy month. Like my dad totaled his car, almost killed his well, he had just dropped his wife off, almost killed his dog and himself, and my best friend's whole family has COVID. We're back on lockdown. And yeah, like Denver's mayor came under fire for traveling for Thanksgiving. We had Thanksgiving. We all wore masks. Anyway, so yeah, so Thomas is still gone. He's back east. Him and his girlfriend had plans to travel for a long time. So, but we're going to be doing. Dog days. We're still doing Perilous Dark, and we needed. I painted up, a few weeks ago. I painted up a bunch of time hounds, and then I needed some like time crystals. So what I did was I made some of these really cool. I made some molds of some crystals that I had in my rock collection. And then I made these crystals that like glow, or they have a tea light, like LED tea light guts in them. These guys, so it's like it has like a little light in it that kind of flickers, and I just thought, oh, that'd be so cool to like put inside of some crystals, for a game. But I started up. I had the idea of making, I took some blind poles. So they're like little kind of like hexagonal shaped. They're kind of shaped like pencils, like if you took a bunch of pencils and chopped them up and stuck them together. So my original idea was to take a bunch of like pieces of these blind wands and then cut them up and texture them and stuff, and then make like a housing that would go around one of these. But I ran out of them, and I didn't. It took way more time to like cut them up and texture them and glue them together and do all that stuff than I thought it would. So I ended up doing a mold and cast, for these guys. So this is resin. But what I wanted to do was stick one of these into here. And I still haven't figured out a really good way to do that. Even if I take the guts out of these guys and then try and stick it in there, it's like the resin, sort of gets into everything, and it like sticks it, it gums up the electronics, the mechanism to like turn the on and off switch on and stuff. And so I settled on making a bunch of these guys. But yeah, I think they're really cool. I like them a lot. I love that they actually have lights in them and they turn on and off. And like for like the objectives, because with the time dogs, it's like they just keep coming back to life and keep reappearing next to the time crystals as long as they're like activated. That's like part of the scenario. So I was like, oh well, when they're on and like summoning time dogs, then they could be on, and then when we take them out, then we can switch it off. So yeah, that should happen soon. I think Thomas is he's flying back soon, and then he's probably going to quarantine for a little while. Everybody's being extra careful around here. Denver Boulder is back on lockdown. You can't go. The only places that are open, where you can go indoors, just like you can't go out to eat. You can't go like bars and stuff like that. And it's like you can go to the grocery store where you can get takeout and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I'm gonna be here painting. The only reason I'm not wearing sweatpants right now is because I have to go to Target later and get groceries. But yeah, let's do some arts and crafts. Okay, so I've got some of these These are wand pole things for mini blinds. So yeah, I got these at Home Depot, and then they're pretty long, and they're only like $3 each. So I'm hoping what I want to do is make some kind of like selenite looking crystal things. And then I got these little LED tea light things from Amazon that like flicker. Yeah. So I want to make them big enough to like put the guts of these, or maybe even just the whole thing, inside to make some like flickering crystals. So I'm not sure that I'm going to have enough material because I need at least 4 of these, or maybe more. I'm not sure. I have to read the rules again. But what I can do is I can make one out of these, and then I can like make a mold, and then just cast them up, which might be the best way because I think it's going to take some kind of sculpting and stuff. Or what I'm going to do is use like sandpaper and a Dremel and stuff and cut these down to size. I'm going to cut some lengths out of these, and then I'm going to use, I think that these are acrylic, so I'm going to use some plastic glue, something with acetone in it to kind of melt them together. But first I'm going to cut some links out of these. Okay, I've got some links cut up. They're, kind of mostly around an inch, maybe a little bigger, a little smaller. So now I'm going to take a Dremel and which way are you going? This way. Okay. I just want to make sure that I'm putting scratch marks in the same direction on every piece. So I'm just going to take a little bit off these sides, and I'm going to leave it on a super low setting. I just want to take a little bit off on this, like this side. Alright, and now I'm going to take some pretty rough sandpaper. This is 100 grit, and I'm just going to get the sides. I just want to rough them up and sort of give them some more texture. Okay, so I got all these guys textured up, kind of how I want them. Let me see what they look like. It's supposed to look like a selenite crystal. Kind of looks more like quartz, like the shape is more like quartz. So what I was thinking of doing originally was I was gonna kind of stack them around one of these guys, like use it as a, losing them. Use this as like a, just kind of a, I don't know, like a base to stack these around. But I think what I'm actually going to do is pull the guts out of these and then try and, I think I'm going to just make one, and I'm going to take like the longer pieces and put them in the middle, and then as I go outwards I'm going to get shorter and shorter like this, and then make something, like that, and then I'm going to cast it up and I'm going to make the inside hollow. so that I can fit the guts of one of these into a casting. So just to make sure that this actually works, I'm gonna take some of this to me extra fine plastic cement, and it's just it's basically just, it's acetone, like it's gonna melt these two pieces together. So if I take it and put it on one side like this, stick the two together, it should make a very strong bond. Yep, there we go. It works, sure enough. So I'm just gonna go around and kind of stick some pieces together. Alright, so that's all I was able to get out of one whole rod, one whole curtain rod. So I think I can, and I'm definitely gonna mold and cast this guy up because it's just a lot of work to make one thing like this. So I'm gonna mold and cast this up and then see if I can fit the guts of one of these. So it has a battery in here, and then there's a little switch, but I think that all of this, like this is just a big hunk of plastic. So if I did a mold and then poured some resin in and I kept the walls kind of thin, I think I could easily fit the guts from one of these guys. Or, you know, if I really wanted to, I think I could take some more rods and then make, you know, some walls that one of these could fit in, the whole thing. Alright, so I chopped up some more of these pieces, but you know, we're going on like 1.5 rods now. So this is about the size that I want the finished piece to be, but then this is the this is how big the guts are when you take everything out of the little plastic housing. So in fact, I'll just show you real quick. It's pretty simple. So I'm going to take this part out. See, that just snaps in there, and then this is just housing, so that's the size of the guts. This is like a 50 mil base, kind of, and then that's how big this guy is. So I think I might even glue this down. No, I don't think I will. But I want to keep this like roughly this size. So I'm just gonna go ahead and texture some more of these and go around and make this big enough to house all of this. Okay, so I've got a shape that I'm happy with, that's plenty big enough to hide the guts of one of these tea-like things. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just make sure that this side's flat. And then I'm gonna glue it down on here, and I'm gonna make a mold for these. I've got just a, oh, that's not tall enough. Huh. Do it that way. It's like just barely too tall with the base. So I want to do a dump mold with this. This is just this like a fruit cup from the recycling. So I'm just going to cut the top out of this and then put it down and then do a mold that way. Let's see, that one. Yeah, I'm going to cut this out here, this rim, and then I'm gonna make a container for a dump mold out of this. Okay, slight change of plans. I found a container that's about the right size, so I'm just gonna I'm gonna use some hot glue to glue it down to the bottom, because I don't want it to float up. But this is big enough where it can house everything, and then I can pour silicone over the top of it, and like so. So I'm gonna let all that dry and cure and do all that good stuff, all the plastic glue, so that when I pour the silicone on top of it, it doesn't melt anything. Okay, now that everything's cured, I'm gonna measure how much is in here, what the negative volume is, using some rice. So yeah, this might sound a little weird. So I'm just measuring how much silicone I need. So I'm gonna take all of this, all this rice. Just dump it in a measuring cup. It's about 1/3 of a cup. So now we use some smooth on. This is just a pourable silicone, has a A part and a B part. Alright, it's time to demold. You can tell, you know, when your silicone is cured, because it's not tacky at all to the touch, and you want the stuff that you've mixed together to look like this, where it's all just one color and totally homogeneous. And because with the 2-part silicone, you really got to make sure that you mix them together well, and also use a plastic measuring cup, because silicone will actually stick to glass. The silicon will stick to the silicone, or the silicone will stick to the silica in the glass. So it'll bond to it. So anyways, yeah, time to demold this guy. Yeah, this is why I wanted to use the applesauce cup, is because I could just take the piece of tape off of it and then pop it out. This is going to take a little bit of work to get out. All right, after some coaxing, we're out. Let's see how this thing looks. Looks like everything cured. All the silicone looks good. Cool. Nice. Yeah, obviously, like these aren't gonna last after a few castings. They're just gonna come out. Everything looks cured. Awesome. Perfect. Smooth on is awesome. It's the best molding silicone. I would like to get this one to be a usable piece. We'll see. I have to do something with that. Okay, so what I want to do, I have this idea. So I have a few types of resin to cast in here. I have UV resin, and what I could do is just make some walls and then cure it as I go. Just make some thin walls, and then I have, let's see. I have 3D printing resin that is green. It's a see-through green. But what I want to try, and I don't know if this is going to work, is I want to try taking the battery out of this, and then I'm gonna pour resin around it, and then try not to fry the electronics with the resin, because the way that it cures, well, the way that a lot of resins cure is it's a chemical reaction, and then it heats up really hot. And let's see, what else do I have? I have epoxy, but I don't have enough. Let's see. So this is what I want to try. I want to try and see if I can do some kind of casting resin in here, maybe like an art resin, and then add like pigment and like some sparkly like glitter kind of stuff in there to create a cool resin effect. And then pour that around the electronics without killing the electronics. Okay, so I went out to Hobby Lobby and got a few different options. So I haven't tried these yet. This is a 2-part resin though, and so if it behaves more like an epoxy, there's a better chance that it won't heat up and fry the electronics, because this stuff will. This is a 2-part, well, it's a resin with a catalyst. So you just mix this stuff up, you put a drop of this in, it starts a chemical reaction that makes it heat up, and then it gets to a pretty high temperature, and that's what cures the resin. But this stuff works really well. It's a nice, a nice casting art resin So I'm gonna try both. Never tried this before. I don't want to gum up the mold with uncured resin. I might try this. So yeah, I know for a fact this stuff works. I think I'm just gonna try one and see if it fries the electronics, and then if not, then great. And if it does, then I just have one of these with a dead little light in it. Another thing I got at Hobby Lobby, I found some little reusable measuring cup things. These are silicone, so resin won't stick to them. But they do have little graduated lines on them, so it'd be easy to measure out A and B parts. To be very precise, and the resin won't stick to them. All right. So this stuff does have a shelf life, though, sadly. You can't buy a bunch of this and stock up on it because it does have a shelf life and it gets hard when it sits around. Okay, so this is how I usually mix up resin. This is just the not an A and B part, just resin where it has a catalyst, and I'm just kind of eyeballing it. That's should be plenty. And I do always wear gloves when I'm working with this stuff because it's crazy sticky. So I'm just gonna take some, I've got some pigments here, and then these are pearl powders, and a little bit goes a long way. You could use, paint or whatever, there's specialty resin dyes and, pigments and you name it. There's all kinds of stuff that you can mix with resin to give it color. I just like pigments. These just have this kind of cool, they do this weird like color change thing that I think is kind of cool. And they mix pretty well with the resin because they don't react with it. Okay, so I want it pretty see-through like that. And I'm gonna add a little something else, a little bit of these little shiny things in there. Hopefully get some cool little crystal effects. And then I'm going to mix everything up and incorporate it first before I add the catalyst, the hardener agent. You can see when this stuff, when you add the catalyst, it immediately starts a chemical reaction. It starts hardening right away. It's actually kind of cool to watch. And then just, a few drops. That's all you need. That starts the reaction. There are exact measurements with this stuff, but the reaction, you don't really need, it doesn't need much of the activator, it just needs a few drops. by volume. If you add too much, it will actually crack, which, you know, I mean, it could be kind of cool. It's actually kind of a cool effect. Now I'm gonna just start pouring it in. Okay, well, that one was a failure. So, all right. The mold is plenty big enough to fit the whole thing in there, but what it started to do was the resin started to come up through like this switch part, and then it was coming through the little these little holes and stuff. So I haven't totally given up on making these things light up and twinkle. What I'm thinking is I just need to take a whole one and then shove it in there, like make this part airtight, and then just shove the whole thing in. And if it will fit, then that should keep the mechanism totally intact, keep all the electronics safe. If I just make this part airtight right here. So, plan B. Oh, and I dug up some crystals from my rock collection to make molds of these too. I'm gonna make some more crystal molds. Okay, plan B. So the other piece is still curing. I have one of these that I cast up it's curing, but. So I made some molds of some other crystals from my rock collection, and all of these guys they're too small to fit the whole guts of one of these into the crystal itself, but it doesn't need to fit the whole thing. What I can do is I can pour resin around them. And then if it's just enough to like get up to the light part, that should be enough. And then I can do something else, like put some gravel around the base or something, do some basing with this part. And then just have the crystal be the only part that's actually submerged in resin and lights up. And then leave all the guts out of the resin. So that should actually work. And what I'm thinking is I'm not going to color these, although I could, but they'll have a consistent look if I, well, no, I take it back. Might just do that, just to color them. But what I was thinking was just doing some giant sort of quartz looking crystals with just some of these like shaved ice material stuff to get a cool looking crystal, and then having just the bulb submerged in the resin, and then that should work. That should turn on and flicker. So what I don't want to do is take these apart and solder them, and you know, like have to do too much surgery to this plastic parts. So we'll see if I can fit one of these whole things into one of these molds. But otherwise I have another plan for these too. So hopefully this works. Plan C. Okay, plan D, or whatever we're on, plan E. So what I'm thinking is that I can take the bulb part and then submerge that, and then this will just pop on there. That's my best solution yet. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take some little craft sticks, and then I'm gonna super glue these guys on to them just real quick, just to get them to stick on there. And then I'm gonna just stick. I'm gonna pop them in like that, and then leave them submerged into the to the resin. And then just this part, just this little bulb part, is the only part that actually needs to be in the resin to get it to light up. I'm hoping. Fingers crossed. Okay, time to demold some of these guys. So something that's interesting about resin, it's kind of cool, is that big pieces like this will actually cure faster than like thin little layers like this. Like this is still kind of soft, but this part is totally rigid and solid because the chemical reaction, you know, it's a heat reaction. So denser pieces actually cure faster than thinner pieces. I should be wearing gloves. But it has been a while, it's been several hours, so I'm gonna go ahead and demold them. Looking good. Really cool. This one isn't gonna light up. It doesn't have any of the housing for the electronics in it. These do though. These actually make it a little easier to pull these guys out. But the big question is, will they light up? Sort of. I should have made them more translucent. Or should have made the resin a little more clear. It doesn't light up as much as I want it to. Maybe some of these thinner guys. yeah, definitely. I love how they like flicker like that. That is just so cool. Totally worth it. All the effort. Give birth. And this one is really long and skinny, and it's like has all this texture on it, so it's harder to get out. I was afraid I was going to break my crystal when I was pulling it out. Okay, this is going to take some coaxing. All right, yeah, I got everybody out. Kind of bummed out that this one, I basically just had to pretty much destroy the mold to get him out, because just did not want to come out, and it's a really cool looking crystal. But I can, I can still sort of piece it together and tape it. This is definitely more a candidate for like a 2-part mold. But these guys came out beautifully. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go around these bases and then make some little kind of rocky formations around them to hide the guts of the tea lights. And I have some of my little Woodland Scenics rock molds, like random pieces, and then I'm going to use some gravel stuff, and then just make some little rocky formations around these guys. So I think this is a job for the hot glue gun and super glue. Yeah, I think I'm gonna glue these guys on first with some hot glue, and then go in with the with super glue, and then do rocks and stuff around. Alright, so I went around and glued rocks all around the bases on these guys, checking to make sure that I'm not super gluing the switch together, the electronics and stuff. Tried to hide everything safely with like either plaster or like big chunks of cork or something like the electronics, and then just use super glue to get like rocks and stuff on. So now I'm gonna switch to some fine grit sand, and I'm just gonna kind of go around in some spots and sort of hide plastic. Like that. Just get around the bases, you know, the rims and stuff. And I'm gonna do that. And I'm gonna take my dog for a walk and let everything cure. I think you just heard that. He's looking at me. Almost glued it together. But yeah, I'm gonna let all this super glue dry, and then I'm gonna start painting. Alright, finally time to do some painting. So I'm not gonna bother doing priming or anything like that. You know, primer is mostly to get like paint to stick to plastic and things like that. Like, paint has no problem sticking to plaster. Plaster soaks up paint. So, and I'm just gonna like kind of overbrush, like dry brush the rocks and stuff. So I'm just gonna use some cheapo craft paint, you know, America's best-selling favorite paints, Apple Barrel Americana, like dollar store paints. So yeah, I'm gonna go around gonna go dark to light, but I'm not gonna mask anything off. It's just gonna be a quick and dirty rock paint job. I started doing this, I started adding some paint to when I do rock molds, a little bit of some black paint in there just to get some gray tones. And I wish all of my rock molds were, I mean all of my my molded pieces were like that, because that would make this a breeze. But just gonna start with some black. Do a dark coat. Not even really worried about coverage too much at this point either. And then maybe kind of overbrush, like wet blend in some lighter tones. So yeah, that's the finished product. That's what these guys look like done and all painted and everything. And I still haven't figured out what I'm going to do with the other ones, the blind pole crystals that I made. But I really like these guys. I'm really happy with how they turned out. I think they look super cool. You can see I've got all of my my time hounds and my summoner, I don't know what he is, some kind of evil summoner in the middle, summoning a bunch of time dogs next to the time crystals. But thanks for being patient with me, guys, and not leaving. In fact, welcome to all of the new subscribers. I needed a break, and like I said, stuff has been crazy. But yeah, I'm back. So anyways, thanks for watching, and welcome to all new subscribers. And you guys take care of yourselves, stay safe, stay sane, paint some stuff, and stay healthy.